Welcome again at ETOE Designs. Today I like to talk about things which can go wrong when doing custom painting and troubles you can run into when doing custom painting. And that's nearly everything, because custom painting is very difficult. And yeah, you can run in different troubles. And guess, I got hundreds of mails from you guys who run in such a trouble, and I cannot answer all these mails separately, so I decided to pick out most of the common problems you can have with custom painting, and I like to discuss these problems in this video. I like to give you some tips, some hints, so let's go ahead and let's find solutions for your problems. And the first big problem came from a guy from Malaysia. He sent me pictures of your helmet, of his helmet, and that's it. And let's check out the helmet. Yeah, and it doesn't look good. He had problems with the application of the color, also with the preparation. And let's look at the top of the helmet, and you can see a rough surface. It's called orange peel. And such an orange peel is caused by a bad preparation and a bad handle of the spray gun. And how can you solve that? As I tell you in every of my videos, do a good preparation. You need a smooth surface. You have to remove as much color as possible from the item you like to paint. And you need a good primer and an absolutely perfect surface of the primer. So use 400 grit wet sanding paper, 600, 800 until you produce a very smooth surface. Not the surface like seen on this helmet. That's not good enough to apply the color. He tried to apply clear coat and to smooth the surface with the clear coat, and he failed. It was too much clear coat, and you can see these paint runners which look like waterfalls, and in these waterfalls are little black dots, and these dots are air pockets, air holes, and these are caused by the chemical reaction. It was a two-component system with a hardener and the clear coat, and if it hardens too fast because there's too much material applied, it gets hot and causes these little air bubbles, and when you have these bubbles, the layer of color is ruined. You have to remove it completely, because if you paint a new layer, the color will leak into these little pinholes. I call them pinholes, and you have already these holes in the next layer of color. So what you can do is remove the fail, remove the clear coat and some of the primer again, do a good preparation, a smooth surface, and then try to paint the helmet again. And he had also a lack of using such a spray gun. He was not able to handle the spray gun right, and maybe he had the wrong setup of the spray gun. And if you want to learn how to set up a spray gun right, check my spray gun setup video. And in this case, the fluid tip was too wide open, so he had to close the fluid tip with this knob, the knob in the middle of the spray gun. And when you close the fluid tip, you reduce the travel of the trigger, and you reduce the amount of color spraying out of the gun. And so you are able to apply a smooth surface with not so much color. Make a test sheet, and when you have a smooth surface with the amount of color you need without any paint runners, then you can paint your item, your helmet, or whatever you like. Okay, 2 tips for the first problem. Next problem. Let's check the next problem, a mint frame. And the customer tried to paint his frame himself with spray cans, he told me, and these are typical problems for lazy painters. And what do I mean with lazy painters? If you don't remove the complete old color, everything of the old color, you can run in such problems. These are chemical reactions with new colors. And yeah, what was the problem? He used such Montana cans as I use as well. And these cans have a lot of solvents inside, a lot of aerosols, and these solvents and aerosols can soften old layers of colors, and these colors can behave like paint strippers, like paint removers, if you apply too much material, too much color in one spot. And that's what happened exactly on this frame. He told me he applied a little bit too much color, a little paint runner, and the reaction was this wrinkling spot. So let's check what happened. I made a little sketch. And here we have 2 of these problems, a white frame. It looks a bit like orange peel, but it's not. It's also a chemical reaction in this area. I hope you can see that. And the typical wrinkling on this mint frame. So what happened? Here's my sketch, and I have the black frame, also the beige primer, the old color in red and the new color in this typical mint color. So what happened? He applied a little bit too much color in one spot. I will paint slightly here, like this. And in this spot are too much solvents. Like these orange ones. Okay? And these solvents can't evaporate all through the air, and they will leak or evaporate also in the color underneath, in the red color. And that causes a bad wrinkling of the red color. The solvents will soften this red color, like this. And produce the typical wrinkling effect as seen on the frame, like this. And that's caused of the solvents in the color. And if you have too much solvents and if you don't remove the old color, that's a typical problem. So what can you do? The first thing you have to do is remove as much color as possible. Do a good preparation with a good primer. And the primer should be a 2-component system. That's more safe than a 1-component. It can also affect the primer, not only the color. And when you have old color on your frame, make sure you use a primer over this old color, which seals the surface from the next layers of color, and apply also thin layers of the color, maybe 3 to 4 layers, not one big shot. Make 3 to 5 shots in thin layers and you can solve this problem. Okay? So what can you do with this spot? You have to remove the complete color, not only the mint one, also the color underneath. And if you try to fix this, you can run also again in this problem on the edges of your fix, because the mint is still soft, it's not really cured on the frame, and when you apply another layer, it's also possible that the edges will wrinkle again and again and again. You try it again, and you fail every time. So sometimes it's a better solution to remove the complete color again and to start from scratch instead of fixing such areas, because it can drive you insane when you try to do that. Or you have to wait a long time, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, maybe a month until everything is cured, until it's everything really hard. Then you can try to sand this area, this spot. You have to primer it only in this area, but only professionals should do that with a lot of experience. If you have no experience, you can run in this trouble again and you don't know why. So what I recommend, start from scratch. If you want to fix only this part, make sure you invest a lot of time, maybe a month, or maybe some weeks until everything is cured, and then try to fix this. Okay? Problem solved. Next problem. Let's check this one. That's a typical masking problem, and what happened is that the color, the black color, leaks underneath the masking tape. Sometimes you have these typical leaks underneath the masking tape, or it blows underneath the masking tape, like here seen on the R or also on the K. And what happened is the masking doesn't stick well on the color on the frame, and the airstream in the gun blows the mask away and blows underneath your masking tape, and that is what happened. You have these typical fades on the R and also on the K. I made also a sketch. Let's find it and let's check how to solve that. That is the typical decal problem. Here I made a sketch where it's shown wrong, and here I made a sketch where it's shown right. Here. And let's check this. We have also again the frame, a primer, the first color, also here. Frame, primer, first color, and a decal mask. And on the edge of this decal, the edge peels off a little bit from the frame, and you can blow underneath this masking tape or the decal. I like to show you that in blue. Let's check this. And when you spray with your spray gun, you spray also underneath the decal. And yeah, that causes these typical fades or the leaks. And how can you solve this? That you need a special decal foil or a special vinyl that is able to stick well on your frame, and you need also a smooth surface. Let's check this. When you have also a rough surface, I like to try to paint that. Let's check the color, and if the color looks like that, under the microscope of course, which is not even, and you try to stick a decal mask on it, like that, there are a lot of bubbles underneath your decal, also on the edges. And that can cause a peel off when spraying in these areas. When you spray with color and with air, the decal will peel off in this direction. Or color can leak underneath the decal in these air bubbles. Yeah, and that's what you don't want. So make sure at first you have a smooth surface. And you can produce that using your spray gun right. Or if you have a rough surface, some colors can be also sanded. So do a small sanding with a grit maybe of 1200 or 2000 for a smooth surface. And then stick on your decal. And make sure it sticks well also on the edges. And so you can't blow off the decal, or you can't blow underneath your decal. And do also only light fadings over such decals, not too much color, because if you apply too much color, I will use black, and you have too much color applied, like this, there's also a risk that the color can leak underneath your decal. So apply also thin layers like these, so you have not so much color on the edges and there's not so much risk that the color will leak underneath your masking tape. Okay, that's it. Problem solved. Next problem. Next problem. Your decals or your masking sheets stick well, but too well, and you can't remove the masking sheets, and you run also in a big problem because the paint job is also ruined. And yeah, that happened to a guy who tried to paint his cycle frame. But at first, let's check what he did. That was his frame, an old aluminum frame, and he tried to paint it. And he did it in his shed, as he told me. And a smaller problem was he couldn't see every tube also underneath the tubes because he had not enough light. And yeah, he said he missed some spots. So what I recommend, make sure you have light from every side you like to paint. Also underneath the frame, on top of the frame. So make sure you have light when you paint, or paint outside where you can see every spot of your frame, so you don't miss any spots. Yeah, and let's check what he did. He did a kind of khaki color on the chainstays and the blue on the rest of the frame. And yeah, that is what happened to the decals, and that doesn't look good. And what happened is that the glue of the masking sheet reacted with the color. And that's also a very typical problem. And I like to show you how to solve this problem. And he painted also with these Montana cans, with spray cans. And as mentioned before, you have a lot of solvents in these cans, a lot of aerosols. And these aerosols and solvents are high reactive, also with glues of such masking sheets. You have a vinyl, and on the back of the vinyl there is a glue. And yeah, what happened is, let's check my little sketch. He made these decals, these Beat Corona decals, and stick them on a new layer of color, this brown color seen here. And The glue of the decal, the glue is shown in pink, reacted with the color because the color was too fresh. There are still solvents in the color. I like to paint some of these solvents. We have a lot of these orange solvents in the color. And they react with the glue. Yeah, and what happened is, he could remove the decal, the black decal. But he couldn't remove the glue. Yeah, and that's also a nightmare. And yeah, how can you fix this? And the bad news are, you have to start from scratch because you can't remove the glue. If you try to remove the glue, you have to use any thinner or something like that. And if you remove the glue with thinner, you remove also the color underneath all these glued areas. And yeah, maybe until the primer. And that gets, you get really messy areas also with bad shaped edges. And that's what happened here. Here you can see the primer. Can you see that? That spot on the A, that's the primer, that's the color, and these edges are really horrible. And yeah, what you have to do is, you have to remove the color, you have to remove the glue, maybe until the primer, primer again, if you have good primer, only the complete color. Then make sure you apply only thin layers. Take your time, maybe one day, maybe 2 days, maybe a week. Let the color cure. Stick on your stickers, paint again, and then you can solve this problem with the glue and the solvents in the color. Okay? Problem fixed. Let's check another problem. And that is a guy, he tried to paint his canyon and he tried to do it professional with spray guns and also with professional acrylic color, automotive color, and he ran also in a very common problem, and that is the problem of the edges. Let's check this. He has no sharp edges, he ripped off the color, the black, with his masking tape, and that's caused by another problem. It's caused by the color. So let's check this. And that is a typical problem when you apply too much color, as seen here. I called it wrong. He applied too much black color also over the decal and he had no sharp edges. And the right way would be you do something like that, only a thin layer of black color, and there's not so much risk that you rip off the color on the edges of the decal. Here you have such a big risk. Let's check this in blue to rip off the edges. And here you have only a small risk to rip off these edges. Yeah, and that's it. And what can you do? At first, make only small or apply only small layers of color, thin layers of colors, and you need also the right color. If you have the wrong color, I have here another sketch. You can run also in these problems. It's typical for acrylic colors because they will shut down when you apply them. And that means the surface of the color is not able to bond with the next layers of color and you have no bond in between these layers of color. Here I have the white color and the black color, and the black color lays also on top. And what can happen is that the black color will peel off. Let's check this. It lays only on top and it can peel off, and there's no bond in between the white and the black, and that causes also such spots on your decals. So make sure you use the right color, you use the right timing, and you use the right amount of, or how can I say, the right thickness of the layers, And you must also use the right decal paper, because if you use wrong decal paper, the glue on the edges, here you have a little area of glue, there's glue underneath your decal, and this glue can also react with your color in these spots, and that causes also bad edges. I will mark this blue. So that's the problem area, and when this glue reacts with your color, it will bond with the color and you will rip off your edge and you cannot produce a sharp edge. Yeah, and what's the fix of the problem? You have to try. You have to try the right color, you have to try the right decal paper, and you have to try the right timing. I can't give any tips. What's the right timing, what's the right decal paper, and what's the right color, because these three things interact with each other and you have to find out yourself what's the right decal paper for your color, what's the right timing for your color, what's the right color. And yeah, if you use my stuff, you won't succeed, because I know my right timing, I know my layers of color I need to apply, and if I give you all this information, you are not able to reproduce what I reproduce. So you have to find out yourself what can be a fix of this problem. Good luck, try it several times, try it on test sheets, make a test sheet in your spare time, and if you have enough experience, you are able to win and to succeed this problem. Okay, next problem. Yeah, and that's a guy who tried to paint a helmet like I did with spray cans. And if you want to know how I did this, check my spray can helmet painting video, and he failed. And that's a combination of different problems. The first problem was a bad preparation. Here you can see in this spots there's too much material applied. It's a little kind of bubble, but that's too much material, maybe too much color, maybe too much primer. And he didn't sand up these surfaces, he didn't flat the surface and try to apply a next layer of color. And on all the black areas you can see these typical bubbles, these typical pinholes caused by the chemical reaction of the color. And if you apply too much color, as I told you before, you have a high risk of a chemical reaction, and this causes these typical bubbles. And you can see also on the edges that they are much too big, there's much too much color applied. And yeah, that causes such a surface. And what you can do is remove the complete color and start from scratch. You have no chance to fix this because you have these chemical reactions. And every time you apply a next layer, these chemical reactions start again. And it's a better solution to start from scratch, to remove all the color, because you waste time trying to fix this. There's no chance to fix such bad paint jobs. Okay, I hope my tips help you for a better paint job and a better custom painting. If you have other problems, send me a message, but only with pictures, no pictures, and I can't show anybody of you what went wrong. So please send also pictures to your description. If I tell you only about these problems without showing any pictures, you don't know what I mean. That's not very nice. So if you have a problem, make pictures of your problem, send me some messages, and when I have enough problems for another video, I will do another one, maybe in 1 or 2 months. I can't answer all your mails separately. I have to work, that's my job. I have to make some money. I have to make some clients happy with my paint jobs. So don't be sad when I don't answer email yet, but I will check some of these emails and some of these messages. And when I find common problems everybody of you should know, I will do another video. Okay? Check also my Insta and Facebook for my daily stuff. Check my other videos for a lot of more information, for a lot more paint jobs, also DIY paint jobs. And thanks for watching. See you in one of my next videos. Good luck with your paint jobs and goodbye.